Hello, my name is Jeremy Gibbert, and I'm going to talk about a paper called Integrating the Sustainable Development Goals into Green and Sustainable Neighborhood Tools. As background to the paper, we need to think about progress in terms of Sustainable Development Goals. It's very clear now that many countries are not going to achieve the SDGs, and so one of the things we need to think about is whether we working in construction and the building industry are doing enough, whether there are things that need to be changed to provide more support. And in particular, we can look at tools and guidelines that directly influence the design, construction, and operation of buildings, such as green building rating tools, and look at those and say, are they well aligned to the SDGs? Do they support the SDGs? And if not, what improvements and recommendations can be made? So the structure of the presentation is firstly, a quick introduction to the Sustainable Development Goals. Secondly, a look at the process of extrapolating the SDG implications for neighborhoods. Thirdly, looking and introducing two tools that rate and measure performance of neighborhoods. And then thirdly, looking at the evaluation of those tools in terms of support for SDGs. And then finally, developing some conclusions and recommendations for the study. So firstly, if we look at the Sustainable Development Goals, there are 17 SDGs that countries all aim to achieve. Within those SDGs are sub-targets, and countries aim through policies and legislation to achieve the SDGs. And these SDGs are being tracked. There are a range of websites where you can see progress very clearly. And this particular diagram shows SDG progress for South Africa. The red shows insufficient progress, and the arrows show the trajectories in terms of whether things are improving, are moving towards the target or not. And what you can see here is that over the last few years, certain aspects have improved, but others haven't. And you know, the top graph shows the situation in 2022, where there are areas such as poverty, which are actually going backwards. And if we look at the reasons for this, one of the key reasons is likely to be COVID-19. This particular graph shows that very good progress was made over the last 5 years in terms of tackling poverty. And then around 2019, we have COVID, and a lot of that progress is reversed. So you can see that in the blue lines, where progress, poverty then spikes upwards again. What's very interesting also is to look at the reports from the IPCC, and this particular one is from 2018, and it shows a diagram where there's a kind of very clear conclusion that business as usual will not work. What it also shows is that small incremental changes to do with technology, such as light bulbs or heat pumps, are also unlikely to be sufficient. What it advocates is a very clear move to addressing the SDGs and low emissions as the kind of key strategy for achieving sustainability and targets. So it's very interesting that this particular report, and there's a very strong move for making the SDGs really as a kind of central element rather than just climate change and carbon emissions as a focus for change. So the first thing we did in the paper is analyze the SDGs in quite a lot of detail, and then draw out the implications for neighborhoods. So each of the SDGs has implications, and we set that out in a table in the paper. What we then do is look at those implications in terms of two neighborhood assessment tools. The first is BREEAM Communities. This was developed by Building Research Establishment in the UK, and it assesses communities and neighborhoods in terms of social and economic well-being, resources and energy, land use and ecology, transport and movement, and innovation. The second tool is the Built Environment Sustainability Tool. This is a tool developed to measure the performance of neighborhoods in terms of sustainability, developed in South Africa, and it uses the following criteria to measure performance: shelter, mobility, goods and services, waste, biocapacity, health, knowledge, and employment. What we then do for each of these tools is look at the detailed criteria within the tool and look at how this relates to the different 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The results of that analysis are set out in a matrix, which is shown above. And what the matrix shows is it shows both direct support, so very clear, strong support for the SDG, and indirect support, so where the support is more tenuous for the respective SDG. So the first analysis looks at BREEAM Community, and what this shows is it shows there's direct support for SDG 3 on health, 6 water and sanitation, 7 energy, 8 sustainable economic growth, 11 sustainable settlements, 12 sustainable consumption and production, 13 climate change, and 15 sustainable ecosystems. The second tool we look at is the Built Environment Sustainability Tool, and the results of this are also set out in the matrix above. And what this shows is it shows that the BEST tool provides direct support for health, education, water and sanitation, energy, sustainable economic growth, sustainable industrialization, sustainable settlements, sustainable consumption and production, climate change, and sustainable ecosystems. These results are brought together in a table where you have in the first column all the SDGs. You then have the results for BREEAM Communities in the second column, and the Built Environment Sustainability Tool in the third column. And what this shows is it shows that BREEAM Communities provides support, both direct and indirect, across many of the SDGs, but it provides direct support in 8 SDGs. The Built Environment Sustainability Tool also provides direct support across many of the tools and supports 11 directly. So if we come to the conclusions and recommendations, we can conclude that both BREEAM Communities and the Built Environment Sustainability Tool appear to support a number of the SDGs directly. The BEST tool supports some of the SDGs that relate to education, poverty, inequality, and employment more strongly than those in BREEAM, and neither of the tools really address issues like gender equality, oceans, seas and marine resources, and global partnerships. So finally, to come to recommendations, we conclude that neighborhood tools do require additional criteria, and that the involvement of stakeholders from different cultures, different countries, women, poor people, may help improve the type of criteria and tools to make them more inclusive and more aligned to SDGs, achieving the SDGs. So thank you very much. These are my contact details. Welcome to get in touch if you've got questions or you would like to find out more. Thank you.